Don't know how I woke up here. My father's car, an empty road, a Sedona sky, smiles and I should feel invincible. I've come to see what I have lost. I'll find myself again after years of being inked to someone else's pen. I tilt my head back, I get high. It's only time in my life I feel alive. I'm running on dreams and I've got all I need. None of it seems real anymore. The photos prove that I was there, but who I see is someone that I'm never sure I've met. But the red rocks don't care who I am, as I get lost inside the mystery and wonder what they mean to me at this time in my life. I'm waking up to a light that has always been there, but I've been afraid to let shine. I'm running on dreams and I've got all I need. These dreams, these dreams, these dreams, they lift me to heaven and shoot my balloon from the sky. There's a fear I'll never figure it out. The truth is that we don't arrive, but far forever till we just enjoy the ride. So maybe I don't need to know. Trust the way my life could go, and whatever wind blows, it's guiding me home. Sometimes the path, it's getting lost, only to remember who we've been all along. I'm running on dreams and I've got all I need. These dreams, these dreams, these dreams, they lift me to heaven, then shoot my balloon from the sky.
Dude, I wasn't expecting that. Oh my God. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
From the butter of the guitar and your voice. Jesus.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Thanks.
I don't know how you get up there, because I certainly can't get up there. Dude, thank you for that.
Yeah.
That was,
Thanks for
and the
letting me.
words.
Yeah.
Wow. I kind of feel like you should just keep playing, but we'll give a talk. But thank you for coming here today, and
thanks for having me.
Coming on SuperLife, and maybe you just started the whole entry to all of our episodes right there. But so let's jump in here, because this is that's number one, that seemed like a very personal, powerful song.
Yeah.
Where did that song come from?
I don't know if I knew.
Yeah.
I think to me it's all channeled, and I think songs have their own intelligence, and I think they're smarter than me. So it's one of my favorite songs I've ever written, and I wrote it after my band broke up, and I went to Sedona. The song's called Sedona. Yeah, and I was just reflecting, and you know, my favorite part about creativity, whether it's songwriting or writing books or anything like that, is that you don't know the path it's going to take you on.
Totally.
And I think that's where trust and surrender come in. So when I write songs, the biggest joy I get is that I don't know what I'm going to write. A lot of the times I write lyrics, and it's not conscious. It's the unconscious, the subconscious doing all the work and saying things that, again, I'm not usually aware of until maybe years after. And this song was especially meaningful. I can screw it up. I should know. I'm a professional.
That's all right.
I hate. You go to weddings and people are talking like this, or like they have the microphone like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's also like it was the first song that I played during a plant medicine ceremony, because one of my friends was like, "Hey, don't you have this song?" And I played it on my birthday and just started crying, because the lyrics were a prophecy, and every time I play it, it makes my heart really happy.
Yeah, expands. It definitely. Hearing those words and hearing the melody, and it's music is, I mean, not to be cliche, but it's absolute medicine.
Yeah.
You don't even need to know the language, where it's coming from, or I mean the words that are used, it transcends everything, and such a gift and such a vulnerable expression of like that connection between soul and source, and coming through, and then getting to experience that, sharing from your soul to others. It's palpable.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
So your book, Thank God for Depression, it's a very interesting title, right? And I understand it on the one level, because I believe things are happening for us all the time. But when we're in stuff, when we're in it, it's really hard to see beyond that. We talked a little bit about we had to cancel because I was in so much pain, and without a doubt, that pain came with a depressive state, because I couldn't function. I could barely. And so for you, why thank God for depression? What happened for you to be able to even come to an understanding to write a book like this?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question. So I call it my dead decade. I was depressed it was more than a decade. I was depressed from age 16 to 28.
Whoa.
Yeah, like a majority of my life.
Wow. And
when I was 18 or 19, I hit one of the worst depressive episodes. I felt like I was 95. I felt like I had nothing to live for.
And if you would have asked me at that time, I would have said depression was the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Sure.
So I got, like, backstory, I got signed to a record label when I was 20. 6 months later, we make our first record with, dream producer. 3 months later, we have a, top 5 rock hit. We're touring the world.
Wow.
All my dreams are coming true. And my self-worth is at an all-time low. I'm having panic attacks. I'm depressed. I thought all the material, fame, and success would fix me. And it didn't. It just, now I was depressed with money. Now I was depressed with a little bit of fame. Now I was depressed with the responsibilities of band, manager, team. So I limped through 2 or 3 records with the band, and the depression and panic attacks blew it apart. So, and I got blamed for it. My mental health got blamed for it. Oh, he almost got there. Oh, he self-sabotaged. Like, man, I was in the middle of a mental health crisis, Band broke up. I was suicidal daily. Moved back in with my parents. I had so much shame around my identity, my worth, that I was embarrassed to tell people I was a musician. So I went from literally playing to 20,000 people, being like confident rock star, playing on Conan, playing with Smashing Pumpkins, doing all this like worldwide stuff, living the dream, to being back in my parents' house, feeling so much shame. Got so depressed some days I couldn't sing, my voice stopped working. So if you would have asked me then, I would have said it's the worst thing that ever happened to me. Right. Destroyed my life. I thought my career was over. I thought my life was over. And by the grace of the mother, by the grace of the goddess, I managed to make my way to an ayahuasca ceremony. And it was 2 nights sitting with ayahuasca. It healed 10 years of depression overnight. It taught me that my depression was a symptom. My depression wasn't even the problem, which was mind-blowing. Because I'd spent my entire life being like, I'm depressed, this is the problem. It's actually not the problem. According to the medicine, infinite wisdom, it told me the problem was I had been disconnected from the mother. And when I say that, it's synonymous with God, with spirit, universal intelligence, whatever you want to call it. I had lost my connection with the divine. I forgot that I was divine. I forgot that every single person on the planet was divine. And I forgot where I came from, who I was, and what I was made out of. So I had that realization in 2 nights of medicine. And the next day I was walking, and I talk about this in the first chapter of the book, but I was on a medicine called Wachuma, and I'm in this huge ranch in Petaluma, and I'm fully on the medicine, and I start thinking, like, what got me here? Like, what led me to this, like, reconnection with God? What led me to this spiritual awakening of sorts? And I'm like, oh, depression. I was like, depression was the prerequisite suffering I needed to experience to come back to God, to come back to meditation, to come back to spirituality. And that blew my mind, because then in that moment, everything I knew about depression was wrong. Because I'm like, I asked myself, how could it be a bad thing if it led me to this bliss or this awakening or this knowing? So that was one of the main messages of the book, is I just want to inspire people to cultivate and create a little bit of space to question, like, what if this isn't a bad thing because you don't know where it's leading you? And just in that space, you can start to get curious, because I know from my own experience, when I thought depression was a terrorist, I hated it. I hated myself. I was angry at it. Like, I couldn't listen to any of its wisdom. But then when I started shifting to, like, oh, maybe it's a friend, or maybe there's some wisdom in it, then it completely shifts your relationship with it. And, it's kind of the same idea as, like, parts work and, people. It's like, if I'm angry at my inner child all the time, it's going to keep us locked in a sort of, like, gridlock of how can I listen to what he needs? How can I tend to him if I just spend all my time hating him? So...
the interesting thing, and that's beautiful what you said, if we identify depression as the source and it's not the source, then it becomes a further blame, shame cycle, and it becomes this thing out here that is then the problem, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling cycle, and at the same time, you got support from a different perspective. Obviously, the plant medicine, and just as a caveat, we can get into that later. Like, I don't know another way of saying it, but I'm just gonna say it like this. But I have a love-hate relationship with plant medicines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not that, it's the things around it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, but we'll sit on that for a second.
Of course.
Because I always want to make people have steps, right? Or things people listening today go and listen, I am not where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I might have some depression, I might have some anger, I might have some shame. Maybe it hasn't debilitated me completely, or maybe there's people listening right now that are absolutely, dealing with some heavy stuff, and they can't see beyond their hand.
Yep.
In front of their face. And that's real, man. It feels so real, and at the same time, I don't want to even make this flippantly. Just the idea that it's just the idea of someone's listening, that they allow for a second that this may be happening for you, like you said.
Yeah.
That there is a potential catalyst for what if depression is going, hey, this path
Mm-hmm.
over here, like
Mm-hmm.
come over here. Depression shows up because of the road or the perspective that you're on that may not be aligning
Exactly.
with who and what and why, who you are, why you're here, what you truly are.
Yeah.
So I just want to kind of ground that in that concept of it is all encompassing.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly sounds like it for 10 years.
Yeah.
What do you think what was the opening that opened enough up for you to go, this, I can lean into a plant medicine? And maybe someone else is like, I can move my body. I can, maybe their sliver of opportunity is something else.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that, and it's, from my perspective, sometimes those things are quite faint. They're like little openings, and sometimes you have to kind of lean into that going, so what for you, what was the sliver of opportunity that opened up for you to then go, hey, maybe plant medicine is a opportunity for me to shift something?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It was a series of steps, like what you said. It was micro steps,
Mm-hmm.
and starting with the band breaking up, I put my entire identity in that band.
Right.
So I was lead singer of a rock band.
Right.
If I was on
What was
stage,
the name of the?
Beware of Darkness.
Beware of Darkness.
Yeah.
Interesting title.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wow.
It's I couldn't make this up, right?
Yes.
Like going back to the
Script
divine
it.
timing.
Yeah,
I know.
let's script this for this individual and the people around. And
Oh God, it's so
Wow.
funny. I can't. So the band broke up. My entire identity was in it,
Right.
and I had nothing to hide behind.
Mm.
And I actually had to look at myself
Mm.
because it was easier for me to put my identity in external things, put my worth in external things. It was a roller coaster. If we got radio play, I felt amazing. If we didn't get radio play, I wanted to kill myself. So basically I was left with space, and I think just allowing myself the space to let some things air out.
Mm.
But then what I did was I did a solo tour, and I got off, and I knew that there's a dip in mood after coming off a tour,
Mm.
because you go from being a pirate, like you're just traveling the world, and like everyone loves you, and you're like being cheered for, and then the next moment you're folding your underwear, and you're like, why is no one cheering for me right now? So I went out and I drank every night, and I was in Santa Barbara, and it was really easy to go do that.
Mm.
And I started drinking and driving, and I got home one night, and I remember getting in bed, and I was praying, and I was like, I want to die. Like, I do not want to be alive anymore. Like, this is not worth it. Like, please just kill me.
Mm.
And it was a bottom moment. And I talked to my mom the next day. She's been sober for like 30, 40 years. And, I called her at this cafe called Handlebar. And I'm sitting at the cafe. I have these dark sunglasses on. There's like again, a bunch of like Christian Bible study teenagers all around me, just like, Jesus is great. And like, I'm crying and my mom's like, I think you should stop drinking. So, you know, getting sober was another one of those steps that was vital because I'm like, okay, I can't mask my pain in alcohol. So I got sober, which ultimately led to someone being like, you know, I really believe that like the moment where you're willing to get on your knees and be like, I can't do this alone, I need help. Right. And as soon as I did that, you know, someone was like, what, have you ever seen a therapist? And I'm like, no one's ever mentioned that to me. So I'm like 28, I start seeing a therapist for the first time. I get on antidepressants, which also lifted my mood. So I was on that for 6 months. And then someone was like, you should do ayahuasca. And I was like, yeah, of course I'll do that. And then no one mentioned that I had to get off antidepressants to do that. Uh-oh. So yeah, is right. So, you know, this is the first time in 10 years that I've been actually able to function. I'm like literally having to relearn everything because I've been looking through the eyes of depression for the last lifetime. So I'm on these antidepressants and I freak out because I'm like, I'm going to get suicidal again if I get off these antidepressants. My mood's going to plummet. Like, so I started calling all my rational friends and I was like, these hippies want to get me off this medication, do this plant medicine, you know? And
so they did say that it's not good to be on antidepressants.
Yeah, like you could have like, it's called like toxic shock syndrome or something. I forget what it's called. Yeah, so it's not a good mix.
It's not good.
No, it's not good. So everybody was trying to tell me what to do. The hippies were telling me what to do. My like straight friends were like, you're crazy. And then it was the shaman who literally kind of broke the spell. And I remember calling him and, you know, of course he's like on the 405 and he's like, hold on, I'm in my convertible. I need to like,
on the 405.
Yeah, the shaman's on the 405 in his like sports car. Yeah, I know, right? And he's like, hold on, I got to like put my top down so I can hear you. And I'll never forget, he's like, listen, antidepressants will help solve the symptoms of your depression, but ayahuasca will get to the root of your depression. And he was the only one who was like, go sit with your heart and see what your heart needs. And I remember at that same time, I was like, I knew that I plateaued with antidepressants and I also knew that I needed some big Hail Mary, like come to Jesus moment. And that's what I was hoping the ayahuasca would do, and it did it. So. And
a good caveat to say is if someone's on antidepressants, they should be very careful.
Yeah.
Work with a doctor, not just a convertible shaman.
That's true.
You know, so I just want to say that because it's like that's a dangerous biochemical situation. But you, what I'm gathering from that is you were on your knees. That's a tool of surrender, right? You used the tool of antidepressants that when done correctly can be helpful to create enough space to open up something to then be able to think beyond your depressive bubble. And then it just kind of, and so then when ayahuasca was mentioned, probably pretty desperate to change this situation. So then when you decided to do it, was there an onboarding process besides like, how did you prepare were you given any kind of preparation to do it and how to do it or get ready for it?
Yeah, So I called my doctor and tapered the antidepressants.
Oh, great.
I tapered it with twice the amount of time just to make sure. And then the facilitator practitioner recommended no caffeine. Yep. And honestly, getting off caffeine was way worse than getting off antidepressants. No sex. So no ejaculating. So semen retention for a certain amount of time. And then being really mindful of foods you eat. So limited meat, red meat. I don't think I did any meat. Like we had a joke because he said in the form like no overripe bananas. And the day before the ceremony, I bought a banana, and my friend was like, "I think that's too ripe," and I was like, "I think we're gonna be okay."
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It all came down to the banana.
Yeah. And like from what because then like what happened was, I'm jumping the timeline, but I actually wound up playing music in ayahuasca ceremonies for 3 or 4 years.
Oh,
yeah, after. Yeah, like a couple years after that.
Sure.
And from what I understood, the reason to not do caffeine and not, do meat, because there's consciousness in everything. There's energy in everything.
Sure.
There's spirit in everything. So there's a spirit to caffeine. And when you're doing ayahuasca, you want her to have an open field to just go do the work. And I've heard if there's caffeine or meat or alcohol, she has to purge that from your system first before she can actually start doing the deep work.
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's like
It's magic, bro.
There's so much we don't. That's the humble nature of it all. There's so much there, and certainly the plant medicines, when done right and under the right kind of situation, can be very powerful. And at the same time, with such a powerful tool, they can be very, very dangerous. I will say it.
Yeah.
I have my own experience. 26 years ago
Wow.
was when I first did it. And I'm not going to get into that whole story, but I listened, and it was perceived sacred for me to do that. I knew I was going to do it from a whole perspective, from a deep perspective, and I did it and had a great experience. I then kind of had a different intention and did it some more, and then I got really messed up, and the intention was a lot different, and the space was a lot different, and there's so many elements to plant medicine. There's so many elements to, and also the outro, meaning the what are you doing? Because I really feel like plant medicine, what I see now is that most people, I think the work, even though in your situation you have a different experience, and I want to hear that, because it's maybe almost instantaneous perspective shift, essentially, for lack of a simple way of saying it. But also what that molecule reveals, I think gives you a type of blueprint to take into your life and do it in a grounded kind of way. And I don't see a lot of people today taking that. I think the miracle of the compound is 60% of it is what the tools you're bringing into your life and working with. So that's my kind of, if I were to put a percentage on it, I think is missing in a lot of the ceremonies. Very, very, very careful what people do and who's doing it and who's administering it, who has the ability to deal with all of these energies, or at least the energies that they can be perceived of, and you can. It's a
lot.
It's the Wild West.
It's a lot. It's a whole world.
Yeah, it's a whole world.
Yeah.
However, plant medicines have been with the human experience for as long as I think we've had the understanding of the interaction between plants and humans, and they've given us a lot of quantum leaps, I believe. But it's really important, again, who you're dealing with. And so I don't want people to walk away as like, my problems are going to be solved with plant medicine.
Yeah.
So that said, you get ready for your journey, and you have the journey. Do you want to share anything about that and what that internal shift or adjustment or purging or access happened during that? Do you want to share any of that?
Yeah. It's like the best way I can describe it. Like I could get into specifics and be like, and then this happened, but
and then the rainbows. And
yeah,
the colors
exactly.
and
I could be like, there's all kinds of colors, and it was a music,
Yeah.
But I think the best way I can describe it, it's like going from a black and white 1920s Disney cartoon, and then someone flips a light switch, and then all of a sudden you're in like a 2020 Pixar 3D animation.
Right.
And I think just knowing that there was something bigger than myself out there.
Bingo.
Because I was, all along the band, all along my teens and 20s, I'm trying to look for the word. I was an atheist, and I didn't want to be an atheist. I was an unwilling atheist. And I'd been trying to get spiritual connection. I'd meditated. I'd gone to these places. Unwilling atheist, yeah. Amazing. I was not a proud atheist.
Right.
I was dying for connection. And then I think when you get that, and not just rationally understand it, but like somatically get it, and know it, and experience that, it, you know, again, I call it like a light switch healing, where you're just like, oh, everything's different now. And you're right about the integration being like one of the most important parts, because when we finished that ceremony, the shaman said, as we're leaving, he's like, now the real ceremony begins. And I think about it, the way that it makes sense in my mind is that it's all conditioning, right? So we have a certain way of being in the world. We have either trauma that happened to us or things that happened to us, and we go about making beliefs around that and then creating actions around that. And then that creates our life. And then we go to these plant medicine ceremonies, and I think Michael Pollan talks about this, like a groove in a record, it interrupts the groove. So the orientation that I have with that is a Vedic one of like samskaras, which is similar to conditioning. So the plant medicines completely can just break our conditioning up. And that can be shocking, because we can realize like, oh, like kind of what I said earlier, like everything I thought about everything was wrong. So then the work is like, the integration work is, how do you take an experience that can be really intense, and sometimes you might not even know how to decipher it, which we can come back to.
Totally.
And then how do you take that knowing and then distill that into a new way of being?
Right.
And that takes time, because again, it's like quitting smoking or something, you know, it's like, oh, we realize like, oh, this is not good for me. Then we wake up the next day and now we have one day of a new way of being. So then it's just conditioning, and we might fall back and we might go, you know, we might take steps forward, and it's like healing's not linear. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. Right. It's messy.
And there's a discipline to that. Like, you know,
absolutely.
Like a literal action plan of like, you remember who you were.
Yep.
You remember those actions that supported that person that you identified with. And now you're like, kink, that's completely shifted. And so now it's not, and this is the problem too, or the challenge, is if people then have this, let me call it a movie that they just experienced, that they're going, holy shit, amazing. The difference is it's not just a movie, it did shift something inside, but then anchoring it in the actions moving forward, aligning yourself with those things that will support that different perspective. Does that sound?
It makes perfect sense. And like, I just, like, this just popped up too, because there's so much nuance here. Yeah. And it's such an unbelievably complex matrix that is so unique to every single person. Yeah. Because ultimately with ayahuasca, in my opinion, no idea who it is. No idea what it is. Like, I have come to the conclusion that she's love and she wants the best for us. But, you know, when it comes down to it, when we go to a ceremony, we have no idea what is happening on a physical, energetic, emotional. There's all these different layers she can work on. And you're right, there's the purging. So it's like she can literally get energy out of our body. Maybe that's stuck trauma. Maybe that's emotions we've been unwilling to feel. Maybe, you know, that's past life trauma, ancestral trauma, like, again, a whole matrix. And then you look at every single person's individual karmic matrix of like, when someone's ready to be done with something, they're ready to be done with something. And that's where kind of the mystery comes in, right? Of like, we do the best we can. And I read about this in the book about faith and action. Just what's the next right action? And then what's the faith that no matter what I do, that spirit is always with me, and that I'm never alone, I'm never separate, and that may I trust in the divine timing of my life. And that's the integration, right?
And that's the work.
To me it is, yeah. It's like, you know, can we make every action a prayer? Can we, you know, liberate ourselves? Can we work to become free? And I think the answer is yes. But, you know, I don't think that a lot of plant medicine facilitators work long-term with stuff like that, you know? And it's a lot to manage, and I've seen it, you know? And I've seen kind of I've seen hundreds of people do ceremonies, and I've seen the whole gambit of this person did ayahuasca every week, and that is not healthy, you know? Right. Yeah. Like, I've seen people try to run and have experiences just to have an experience sake. Yeah. And I had a friend, you know, I was guilty of this too, because, you know, I did that thing where I was like, I want to try all the medicines. I want to, you know, give it all to me. And a friend pulled me aside and she said, hey, is your life changing? How has your life changed since you first sat with plant medicine? And I was like, why are you asking me that? She's right. She's right. And she said, it's like you've gone to a cafeteria and you're stacking up all the food and you haven't eaten anything. I was like, you're right. So it's like so subtle, because we're also working with every single person's mind and how they interpret what happens to themselves in plant medicine. Do they know that the medicine's a mirror? Do they know how to interpret the medicine? Do they know how to see what's actually happening? What's the intention why they're doing it? Do they trust themselves? Is there a reason why they don't trust themselves? Like, there's so much nuance.
Yeah. Well, it's and at least having a someone that maybe has studied this their lives and can navigate these subtle energies, but also individualistic things that it's almost impossible to grok, like you said, all of what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's impossible.
I know.
There's as you know, 1 second on plant medicine could be a lifetime of things that you've just worked through. And now what do you do? Like it's almost like it shakes it up, and now it can create a different slate or a clean slate or a better slate. But you could absolutely just, number one, use medicine to escape again, and then be this this spiritually egoic person that has all these stories and has all these shots. Like, I've seen that time and time again.
Yeah.
And then it becomes that story, and then they're wrapped in it. And again, I think it's intention, and then it's also intention. It gives you the opportunity, from my perspective, that shift, and now what?
Yep.
And that's the work, and that's the hard work, meaning that it's day to day. It's so as you kind of navigated through all of this stuff, your perspective went back to the gift, right, of this depression and what you've gone through. So how did that shift, and then why did you want to put it into this book? Like, what was the genesis of wanting to share?
So I never thought I would write a book.
Yeah.
I didn't think I could. And I think 3 or 4 months after that initial first ceremony, I was in another ceremony, and I got a download from the medicine, an idea for a kid's book. And I remember waking up the next day, and I was like, that's interesting, like, write a kid's book? And it was like about a little garden in your heart and like protecting the garden and stuff. It was really sweet.
Nice.
And then we were talking about integration. I forgot about it. I just forgot about it because I was like, this seems silly, this seems dumb. And then it was right before the pandemic. I was in Venice, and I went to some cafe. It's the really Earth
Cafe.
Is it Earth Cafe? No, it's nicer than...
It's nicer than that.
What's the nice one? I'm blacking it out because I went there one day, and a friend from college saw me, and she's like, you would go here. And I was like, whoa, this is my first time. Gratitude, Cafe Gratitude.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
I was like, whoa. It's like, yeah. So I'm sitting there, and this idea for a blog came out of like, oh, I would like to write a blog of like, what are 10 things that depression taught me? Just like to try to help people, and make it really simple. And I remember sitting down for 15 minutes and just like being so like unable to focus, or just like so scatterbrained that I was like, this is really hard. Pandemic hit, and then I did the artist way, which I don't know if you, So did that, and then, 7 months later, I was sitting at another cafe. It's Handlebar. A lot of big things have happened at Handlebar in Santa Barbara. Shout out. So I'm sitting there, and I was journaling, and I was like, oh, I need to write a book, because I remembered the blog. And then classic me at the time didn't do any research. Didn't research how to write a book. Or I did. I bought like 3 or 4 books on how to write books. I bought a book about how to format a book and how to publish it, and then I just got to work. And just literally, when I first started doing it, couldn't sit down for more than 15 minutes. And then I worked my way up to 4 hours, and then managed to get it done and source the right people, and then raised like $22,000 from 200 people. And
Wow.
the whole time, everybody in my life was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you're supposed to hold a guitar and sing. And I was like, you guys, I'm writing this book. And like,
Right.
people couldn't really get a
Right, because
pulse on
this
it.
is your identity. It was almost
Mhm.
like that same thing pulling you back in from your network of people
Yeah.
going, this is who you are.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, well, but I'm currently being called to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the willingness to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just, I didn't know any better. I just like, it needs to come out. And then, it's cool because it's out in the world, it's selling. I'm a one-man publishing team, so I just, hustled and...
Good for you.
Thanks.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's a big, it's a lot of work. And I'm getting messages from people who are like, like, wow, in like 16 years of therapy, like this perspective helps so much. And then I was also like, felt like a fraud because I was like, who are you to come in with the mental health area? Like, you don't have any degrees or anything. And I was like, well, I have my wisdom, I have my experience. And I felt like there was a lack of books about depression written by people who had healed their own depression. There was tons of books on depression by depressed people talking about how bad depression is. And I'm like, it's
Or
not
PhDs
helpful.
who have studied it.
That too. And
Right.
and I remember flipping through them and I got mad because I was like, yo, this is so inhumane. They're like,
Mm.
the depressed person may be likely to feel suicidal. And I'm like, my teacher has a really good saying where there's a difference of reading the menu at a restaurant and tasting the food.
Right.
And I think when it comes to mental health and who to follow, there's a huge difference in that because, again, she uses a jungle metaphor where it's like, if you're lost in the jungle, would you rather have someone who has been in that same jungle and knows the day in and day out mental game, physical game, emotional game, and then found their way out and then they can help you out? Or would you rather have someone who read some books about jungles or like talked to some people who had got out of the jungle themselves, So
Someone who has alchemized
mm-hmm.
the place of being there, because there is a massive difference when you sit across from someone and you know that they know what depression is.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is, to your point, there is a different space that opens up and a different line of opportunity coming from the place that you came from, because there's a trust that, hey, he's been there because he's saying the same things I'm experiencing. So that's a powerful place to come from, because it's received differently, and it's also not necessarily going intellectually through it, and then but you're coming from a source, a beingness, and that's a different thing, and we need more of that.
Yeah.
Of course, science and all of this stuff needs to be in its place, but I think leading always from science is always behind. It's way behind.
Yeah.
Tell me, how science explains what you went through.
Mm-hmm.
How does science explain the infinite
Mm-hmm.
that you got a glimpse to see?
Yeah. Right.
How does science explain the shame cycle, the things that have kept you in? Of course, there's ways to explain it, but it's different. And I applaud you for doing it, because while you're doing something like this, the little voice, society's voice even, will say,
Yeah.
who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you
Yeah.
to do
Yep.
this? And then that's a further. So I applaud you for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for saying that. That
Yeah.
means a lot, because I'm writing Thank God for Anxiety. I have a series.
Oh my God,
and
that's amazing.
that one is this. There's a lot of psychedelics in this, but it's more of a smorgasbord. And the anxiety book, I healed my nervous system through psychedelics, past life regression, entity removal, all these like super fringe things, certain meditations, guides, Akashic records, like all that stuff. And the same fear came up of like, whoa, bro, you're about to put yourself out there in like a way that you might not be able to take back. And to your point about science, I remember someone saying, yes, scientists are finally catching up to these ancient Vedic rishis from thousands of years ago.
Sure.
And they're proving all the things true that these guys just knew from sitting in meditation, from having direct experience with it. And then it made me think about the different ways of dealing with suffering, because for thousands of years there's been spirituality and practices of, whether it's like tantric practitioners like Kashmir Shaivism or Buddhism, who are basically scientists of their era, looking at how to liberate the mind. And that's been around for thousands of years. So like, there's that avenue you can go down. And then there's what you said earlier, like the indigenous plant medicine path, who has again been around for thousands of years. Like there, and then there's psychology, which deals with the rational, which is like pretty new still, but like that's also a valid path. So it's like there's a lot of different healing modalities. And like my whole thing is like, I'm not preaching a dogma. I'm not saying like this is the way, because I've had people do that to me. It's a bummer. I'm just saying like, here's my experience, here's my wisdom, here are different paths you can walk down. Go find out what works for yourself. All of the paths that I just, mentioned, you got to be mindful with it.
Sure.
There's pitfalls to everything, and there's a way to do things and there's a way not to do things.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think without a doubt, siloing things is not good for us. Siloing, like science is going to take us, or it's exclusively everyone in the world needs to do plant medicine. It's a blend. It's a coming together, and it's almost a check and balance this day, because if we're, even right now we've got a certain AI consciousness that's, you can question whether it's consciousness, right? It is a form of almost technocratic push of give us the answers, show us how to do that. And listen, it's a tool. How you use that tool. But to bet the farm that this is the way to create society. And the little caveat here is, let's say, yes, AI is flying right now, right? But AI is physical. And what I mean by that is it has physical data centers that need physical power to construct that. And so that physical structure is also having strains on Gaia, the planet, the environment, everything else. So it's like, as we look at these things, we need to be mindful, and I think blending science, keeping it in its supporting some of the indigenous ways with science, opens up other people to that learning through the mind and then into the heart or into another way. So it's like we if we're so far down the path on one, thinking that, look at our healthcare system, completely divorced of indigenous knowledge, right? And how's that working out, right? And just look at systems. I look at systems all the time. So it's like, are these systems, or are they imploding? Of course they're imploding, because they're divorce the natural system. So that's my long way of saying there is balance with all of this stuff, right? There is a opportunity. There's a reason why plant medicines have come so strongly back, but it needs to be curated in a way that's helpful, and the intro, the outro, the right true shaman that can handle that kind of responsibility. So all of this stuff to say, I've seen some of the greatest advancements when I'm out in the world doing stuff, when indigenous people, truly I've seen it happen, indigenous people are informing scientists, and scientists are forming with indigenous people. And I've had, this was actually happened when we were filming Down to Earth in Australia. We were literally out in the Great Barrier Reef on a platform, and I sat in I don't think it came up in the show, but we sat in a meeting, and the scientist turned to me and she goes, without a doubt, we have learned way more than from the indigenous people being next to us and teaching us than us alone.
Wow.
You know, so it's that kind of thing. Do we have science that's incredible? Yes. Do we have plant medicine? Do we have ceremony? Do we have spirit? Do we have the acknowledgement of we are this, you know, coming together of heaven and earth, you know, this body that we get to play around with, but there's this consciousness that's coming out. So it's let's work together here so we can express this life. Let's create utopia, but, you know, left alone with the government, with the science team, with the thing, implosion's happening. The pressures of destroying our planet is upon us with all of this stuff. So I wanted to create that context because it's important that we bring in all of this knowledge and we move forward as a society and not also silo ourselves and think that one way is the only way. So I love that you've created a context where there's many different opportunities.
Oh, that's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's so important, and I think it's so well spoken to. Because, you know, I've run with plant medicine people who demonize any and all Western medicine, demonize antidepressants, and I was always like, wait, like that's not like.
Right.
And even my own healing path, it's never been one size fits all. It's
Totally.
been doing all of the things.
Yeah.
And I think that it's also such an exciting time right now because, you know, I just talked to someone the other day and they're like, oh, I'm doing a mushroom ceremony with like Celtic shaman. And I'm like, wow, cool, you know? And, you know, because I also hear people talk about the whole like, you know, why is plant medicine in the West? And it's like, well, whose business is it for you to judge that when we're dealing with different levels of consciousness here, or different intelligences, you know? So I think it's so cool, like the unity. It's the same thing when people try to separate mind, body, and spirit, and it's like, they're all one. You feel all your emotions in your body. You know, mind and body are more connected than we ever know.
Yeah.
So,
you know, I had a funny thing. We were talking about this pain thing, right? So I went to this really renowned, conservative, but open enough to learn about platelet-rich plasma, stem cells, and really I've been weirdly connected to stem cells, learning from some doctors over the years. And this guy, and I was, again, I was tapping out on all the pain. And so when I was having the procedure, and you'll appreciate this, so he brings up the screen, and he's going into my knee first, right? So he's using ultrasound so we can see it. And he puts the needle in. He goes, see it? I go, yeah, it's right there. He goes, because that's precision. We're going to go right there, and we're going to put your own plasma in this. And this is better than cortisone in his experience. It helps to regenerate already without even the stem cells and all this stuff. And so as he was putting the plasma in, I was like, is that light? Because it got bright. And he goes, yeah, I guess. And I'm like going, what? And so I'm kind of tripping out because I can walk a lot of different, I've done a lot of ceremonies over the years, but I also studied a lot. And so I can toggle, but I'm sitting there watching this going to my knee. I'm like going, and I'm like, that looks like light. Wow. And he goes, and this is a conservative doctor, but also very sweet and open. And he's like, yeah, it's kind of like we're putting SEAL Team 6 into your, and I'm like, and then he turns to me, he goes, you know, I believe in that visualization stuff.
Wow.
And I was like, this is awesome. And so as he's putting it in, I'm bringing my attention there. And within hours, I'm out of pain.
Wow.
Right? So, and he will be the first, and the reason I'm saying this is because he's the first one to say, I don't know how it happens.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens.
Wow.
And then he's told me this interesting thing, which I've never heard anyone say. When we put the stem cells in there, it's not the stem cells that are regenerating the tissue, which everyone is saying.
Mm-hmm.
They're signaling the body in a way that we don't even understand.
Wow.
So when you put them in, they're saying, okay, body, I need you to heal this area.
Wow. Wow.
So I'm in a doctor's office
Wow.
experiencing this toggle between heavily researched. These guys are moving down the FDA path.
Yeah.
You know, I was able to get under right of try because they're so far down the path of stem cells and platelet-rich plasma and all this stuff. And at the same time, if you ask them, the right doctor, the expert, the guy, he's like, this is what seems to be happening.
Wow.
It's a signal
Wow.
for the body to do what? It's miraculousness
Oh,
in a
man.
way we don't understand.
That's so cool.
That, to me, is balance.
Mm-hmm.
That's expressing balance. That's like a common sense thing. So when we get into this, it's that. It's a disservice
Mm-hmm.
to all of it.
Yeah.
So we can't say all plant medicine is bad and all traditional medicine is bad. We, too much of our lives right now, especially online, is siloed.
Yep.
You know, and it's right and wrong and good and
Yeah.
bad.
Nothing's black and white.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So-
Wow. That's incredible.
But that's the truth. I mean, that's the utopia that I want to continue to put energy into.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's so important because this, I don't know why I'm about to say this, but the balance is huge because you look at Western societies, they tend to prioritize money, fame, social media account, you know, all these things that are cool, but they're not, to me, they're not the real aim.
Right.
And then you're like, why is everyone sick? Why is everyone's soul sick? Why are we eating ourselves alive as a culture? It's like, because this is what we're prioritizing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's amazing. That, to me, healthier balance, and even you can, not that we're going to talk about that, but politics is the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just like, it's this, it's that, and it's just like, it's a pendulum
Mm-hmm.
of just complete nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I know who I am, I know where I'm going, I don't need to get involved with this distracted kind of methodology here or viewpoint.
Also, like, you can call me a total hippie, but like some of the best things in my life have happened when I let go of control and let go of surrender and didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, if I got what I would have wanted when I was 26, I would have been dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I wanted to be the rock star, I wanted to be the guitar guy, I would have died.
Right.
You know, so like all the ceremonies I've done, my intention is like the medicine knows best for me, and she has a path and plan for me that I never could have even dreamed of.
Right.
And then again, the integration of like trusting in the path of my own life,
Right.
trusting that there is some outcome way greater than my rational mind could ever think of.
Right.
You know, and I think it goes back to what I've seen. There's a collective way of pushing things to make things happen, pushing and striving and forcing and being so masculine that you're just, you know, taking it, which there's times for that.
Mm-hmm.
There's times for that. But again, the balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just in my own life, I'm leaning more into like, okay, what if I surrender? What if I listen and ask for guidance and see where that leads me? Because I've known where the pushing's got me, and it just leads me to burnout and exhaustion.
Yeah, and then that
So-
pushing comes from like, I know what I want,
Yeah.
and so therefore I'm gonna do it, and then that's, you know, you know, I don't know if there was a goal I've had that I've gotten that wasn't absolutely given in a much better, broader, more fulfilling way. I may have started with a little goal of what I think I want, but I always got blown away because that's the catalyst. I want this. and I want a healthier life. I want fame or whatever. But it's like as being open to let the universe, our soul interact, or our other information come in, to then sit back and go, whoa, that's a lot better than what I was imagining.
Yeah.
And that's the surrender. Then that's
Yep.
the opportunity.
Yeah. And to like throw it back to the book, like that's the argument I make with depression. Because I say, yo, depression's taking you on a journey. And that's exciting. Because now you get to try all these things.
Yeah.
And who knows who the hell you'll be after that.
Right.
You might even forget that you were depressed. You know?
Yeah.
Like, because the thing about whatever you're dealing with, anxiety, depression, it's like I call them lighthouses, where they're telling you something needs to be changed. So there's the manageables, like maybe there's something simple in your life that needs to change, relationship, living situation, you know, job, like all these things. And then there's like the spiritual changes, and that's where I will wholeheartedly make the argument of there's something exciting here. And I've seen it time and time and time again of, you know, just my own life. And again, like I told this story in the I think it's going to go in the next anxiety book, but like when Beware Darkness was first starting out, like 2012, we got asked to play this venue in Santa Barbara called Velvet Jones, like a little dive bar. And there was like 13 girls in the audience, and we didn't know who the headlining band was. Like I saw their name and I was like, whatever. So we play our set, and we're like hard rock band, and these like preteens are looking at us like, what the hell is happening? You know, just like heavy metal, the retirement home, like did not go over well. So we go off side stage, and we watch the headlining band, and we're all watching them, and we're like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Like we're looking at each other, we're like, is this like lame or what, you know? So then we do what every opening band does to every headlining band, even if they hate them. We're just like, man, that was amazing, good job, guys, you know? And then they go sign everything, and you know, we didn't talk to them because we're just like, that was whack, let's go get some pizza or some Greek food and go home. Turned out the band was Imagine Dragons, and like 6 months later they're like the biggest band in the world, you know? So it's like,
wow.
I tell that story because, you know, for years I would be like, oh, that was bad, I made a mistake, I should have made friends with them. Who knows where my music career would have been? And if you talk to any of my music career people, they would have been like, yeah, you blew it. But then looking from another perspective of like, well, maybe who knows where that would have led, you know? And then every step took you to the spiritual path, which is the more important, more fulfilling path to me. So maybe it was a good thing. And I think there's that argument of we don't know what's good or bad when it's happening. And it's kind of like, what's the word? I'm blanking on the word. It's like, it's really, oh wow, this doesn't happen in a minute. Like,
well, it's almost
to
like
make an assumption that we know what's going to happen.
Right,
it's like
exactly.
a little belligerent because we don't know.
Like, and you judge. It's easy to judge something.
Yeah.
And unless just to stay open, and receive. Everyone can have a bad night. That's for sure. But staying open to like not even getting into whatever that conclusion is, and we can't judge, because judgment just shuts everything down.
It's so crazy because
You know?
like I'm dealing with the decision right now, and I was like freaking out about it and worrying and suffering, and I was like, wait, like you can make the decision without all this stuff. Like that's optional.
Right.
Like when has worrying ever helped make a decision? When has judgment, criticism, or blame ever helped you get clarity?
Yeah.
It's mine, but we do it all the time, and it's just the conditioning, the suffering.
What's your biggest takeaway that you want people to get from this book?
That you're not who you think you are.
Bingo. That to me is, I think, one of the greatest tools of like even living into the question, right? Of like, who am I? Let's see. Who do I want to be?
Yeah.
Where do I want to go? And so wait a minute, you're not your depression. So who are you now?
Who am I now?
Yeah.
Oh. I am a goddess devotee and a sliver of the divine that came down here to have a human experience. and check out being in a body. And I'm also Kyle, but I'm also not Kyle, which I'm still wrapping my head around.
Yeah.
You know, I
well,
mean,
it's a medium to which you can identify, like, hey, this is a table, and we get to use it. You know,
like we're all the infinite just running around. Like that's the crazy thing. We're all infinite beings.
yeah. I have to ask,
Yeah.
since you're such an amazing singer, and you blessed us with that song, what's next for the career?
That's a good question. So, I'm recording songs right now for the first time.
Amazing.
And I've had a very up and down relationship with music. I stopped doing music because there's so much trauma around the industry aspect, and then ayahuasca brought me back to music, started playing in ceremonies, completely changed how I sing, completely changed my entire relationship with music, and then wrote the book, which felt good, but I had a realization a couple months ago of music is the medicine. So I am gonna go back into the studio probably tomorrow or the next day. I already got a couple songs recorded, and
Nice.
I've been I don't have a car right now. I'm just literally in the studio, just no distractions, nothing, and just gonna write and create. And then who knows, start playing shows. I don't know, honestly, same sort of thing. I'm just one step in front of the other.
Yeah.
Because I start doing should I be in a band? Should I do this? What should it be called? Oh. It's bro, one step in front of the other.
Yeah.
All those things will trust, surrender. So maybe
Well,
do
play some music because you're gifted, and
Mhm.
and that's a blessing for people.
Yeah.
Because I heard it, I felt it, and I'm glad you're playing again.
Thank you. Me too.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. This has
Yeah.
been just so unexpectedly. I also just didn't know what we were going to get into. I obviously had an idea, but I love the perspective of not identifying to a current situation, and also the willingness to find the breadcrumbs along the way, and then to share it. And that's vulnerable, and that's hard work. And
Yeah.
Thank you for everything you're doing. I can't wait to hear more
Yeah.
music.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much for having me, and
Yeah,
thank you
man.
for this conversation. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I feel inspired. So,
Awesome, brother.
Yeah.